Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Shuffle Bus. I'm back here with my Week 5 AIL tournament matchup. This week I'm playing Schmendrick the Magician. Fun fact about Schmendrick, he was the winner of our Path of Assassins Jericho giveaway earlier this year, so I was excited that I got a chance to play the guy that won one of our tournaments. It's super awesome that he follows all of our content. I always love playing with people that spend time watching our content. And Schmendrick and I have not played before, so this is our first time playing together. I'm ready, getting ready to be set up here. I'm playing Herald. This is the 5th iteration of the Herald deck. Not a ton of changes, but a few. I got rid of Call Upon the Realms. I added in the 3rd Consumed Soul again. I keep waffling on this. I don't know what is correct right now, but added in the 3rd Consumed Soul. I got rid of the Resonance because I was playing a single copy of Resonance for Frostbite just to turn on Frostbite early, and I just decided that's not necessary. Like it's just a tempo play that's just not necessary. So I got rid of the Resonance, added in a 2nd Crescendo to the deck. I just think Crescendo is very powerful and enables me to stay on plan of attacking my opponent's Phoenixborn, gives me removal. Crescendo is just a great card. And then this is going to sound kind of crazy. But I got rid of, the Sleeping Widow. I finally cut the Sleeping Widow. It's been slowly working its way out of each iteration of the deck just as I lost opportunities to play it. And in exchange, I put in a single copy of Freezing Blast specifically for Hydra, but it's also a 2-cost spell. And it gives me the flexibility of pitching it to Skald, pitching it to Shared Sorrow. I mean, there's a lot of value in it still, and most of the time it's probably just going to be dead. But if I play against a really big unit that comes landing on the board turn 1, or we start to see some other kind of unit pop up that's not obviously Hydra, because we did agree to the Hydra restrictions for first 5 restriction and also first round restriction for Hydra and Massive Growth. And then I made one other change. I can't remember what I did exactly, but I did add in a single Massive Growth because I thought late game, something that would be interesting to see is whether or not a Massive Growth on a bear lets me close out the game. I can Massive Growth so much in this deck, like it doesn't matter. So there's just a lot of times where I end up in action efficiency land where my opponent is basically done passing their turn to me, and I still got attacks to make or still got a unit to cast. And so the idea that I could, play a bear and then turn around and Massive Growth it and attack for 6 just gives me that much more sort of aggression to close the game out. So whether or not it will get played a lot, I don't know. It's just a trial run with a single Massive Growth in, but I just wanted to give it a shot. Again, not in the first 5, not played out of the gate. It's not intended to be a rush strategy. It's more of a late round 2 at this point now with the restrictions in place. And guess what? It's a 2-cost too, so it just works great with Skald and Shared Sorrow. So I was like, okay, let's just play these 2-cost cards and sort of stay on that sort of trend. This deck is like the deck of 2s, basically. So we're getting set up here to play. I will be doing a video for the 5th version of this deck. I think it's pretty close to final at this point. The only thing I'm sort of on the fence about is the 3rd Consumed Soul still. The reason for the 3rd Consumed Soul was I do a lot of meditating in this deck. If you watch past games of it, you'll see that I meditate a lot of cards away. And in the process of meditation, you always tend to hit something like a Consumed Soul. So if I have an extra copy of it, there's a better chance that I'm going to get it in hand. There are matchups like my matchup with Chaos Monkey where the Consumed Soul just has no value because my opponent doesn't put any units on the board. But if my opponent is playing any sort of unit factory type of deck, Consumed Soul is really great for double removals, big removals of any of the 3/4s. And I think that lots of people are going to be playing 3/4s, whether they play them as a factory where you're playing a bunch of them, or you're playing them as just a one of in your dice color type. So we'll see what Schmendrick brings to the table. Certainly, there are matchups that could be more problematic for me, but I just want to continue to build a board that allows me to do the things that need to be done. So we're getting ready to spawn in the decks here. He's about ready to spawn his in. Here we go. All right, so he's showing Astrea. Now, this is interesting. I haven't played against Astrea yet. Astrea is interesting because her battlefield is only 4 and her spell board is 4, but she has big health, 19 health, and her Phoenixborn ability is relevant because it shuts off a threat. And that can slow me down, right? Because, like, you know, I'm not playing, like, 10 units a turn, right? We're not playing Fallen where we're just, like, going to pump out little 1/1s left and right. We're playing 2 or 3 units every turn. And so the first thing I do is I grab my Frostbite. I'm probably always going to play Frostbite main. I just don't see a reason not to. He's not showing Hydra, so you know, I'm sort of on the ice trap because he's showing double sympathy. I'm worried about River Skalds, and I don't want to have to trade Skald for Skald. Like, I just want to be able to do that. So I grab Skald and Flash Archer just in case he plays a big threat. I have the Ice Trap for a smaller threat. So if we get a Owl, if we get, you know, just anything that's a little bit on the smaller end but could be problematic, we can Ice Trap it away. And then I've got Bear and Frostbite. And so my first turn is going to be pretty simple, but the Skald does let me draw a card. If I hit Horse powers, Sympathy powers, I can draw more cards. This deck is really dice efficient in round 1, so it's sometimes hard to use all your dice up, and you just kind of have to be like, okay, that's fine. I didn't use all my mana. It's not the end of the world, because if you set up a good board and you're ready to go, like you're in good position for round 2. I do think this deck. I still think this deck wants to play second more than it wants to play first, but I could be wrong, and I think there's probably certain matchups for that, and I just have to spend more time to know for sure. So, you know, again, my opponent is picking his first 5. I need to figure out how to do my first 5 to hand, because I realize, like, if I just put those cards flat on the board, I'm pretty sure my opponent can mouse over them and see what they are, but I'm not sure. I know that it'll tell you the card. Yeah, so as we sit here and wait for his first 5, you know, I think our opening turns almost always are going to just be show Frostbite, right? It's just very rare that we're going to want to put first unit on the board and draw essentially what I would call first blood with it, which is where, like, this deck is not really a rush deck. It's a control and tempo deck, so we don't need to be, like, rushing Bear to the board. We need to be establishing our board presence. And I think you'll see I actually don't even play the Bear until late. But we roll here, and I roll 6 basic. The old 6 basic again. My opponent rolls 6 basic, so we re-roll. Much better roll here. We've got 1, 2, 3 basics. The ceremonial basics do not matter in round 1 unless we're in Fester. So unless we're in the Fester, we don't care about what the ceremonial dice roll, so you can sort of ignore them. But I do need a natural power die for the Bear. And in this particular setup, I need all 4 of my nature dice to play the Ice Trap, Bear, and Frostbite, like to use the Frostbite. So you have to be mindful of using the dice correctly when you do this first 5. And I've got the Archer play or the Skald play ready to go. So the thing I'm going to do here for round 1 is, again, and I think he lets me go first, if I remember correctly. He does. So, no, he's going first. So he played, I don't remember what he put down. Summon, I think it's a Lightbringer. Yeah, it's Summon Lightbringer. So Lightbringer is, like, kind of problematic, not really for this deck, because we want to be attacking, and Herald marking the target means that I can attack into something and his Phoenixborn can't defend it. So I sort of play around the Lightbringer with Herald's ability too. Like, Herald is just so nuts. So I meditate too. I do the old, I want to pocket nature. You see this is a really common opening play for me. We lose a Consumed Soul and a Shared Sorrow. This is a perfect version of why I put the 3rd Consumed Soul in, because I still have 2 Consumed Souls available. He plays Summon Mirror Spirit, so now I see what we're trying to do. This tells me for sure the deck is on a Neo plan. because Mirror Spirit's power comes from, kneeling your opponent out and then attacking for big power. So I have to really consider what I'm using the ice traps for. And I think ice trap is going to end up being for Mirror Spirit, which means I struggle a little bit if he plays the did I pay for the bear? I may have just cheated my opponent. I apologize for that. I don't think anybody caught it. So that's too bad. I'm sorry, Schmendrick. Did not mean to cheat you, my friend. I think I just got ahead of myself. So yeah, watch your opponents, folks. Myself included. It's a good reminder. That's a bummer, but I definitely had no intention of obviously cheating anybody. I wouldn't be putting this out if I intended to cheat somebody. So he plays the Shield Mage. This is a problem if I can't attack his units. So I have to ice trap. Because of the Lightbringer and because of the Mirror Spirit, I have to ice trap there. Like I have to have another plan now for the Mirror Spirit. That's all there is to it. And so if I would have paid for, I'd have one nature die left, and there's the Sonic Swordsman. So he just opens up, and I have to worry that he's got to, if he has a Golden Veil here to protect the Swordsman, I'm in a little bit of trouble between that and the Mirror Spirit. I think this deck would really pressure. So I don't have double removal right now. I don't have a way to double remove. So I pitched the Archer to kill the Swordsman. Now, one of the things I could be doing here if I was really on the play, but I don't have the dice, I don't have the Sympathy dice any longer for it, would be to meditate and then use the Ceremonial dice to bring back the Flash Archer, because then I have second removal with Skald, which is insane. But again, it just is what it is. So I don't know if I'm pretty sure I probably use this dice, and I feel bad about it. I'm kind of hoping maybe I didn't and it won't matter, but unfortunately I don't think that's going to be true. So he Lightbringers, he's going to force me to attack with the Skald. So I'm just going to, what I'm debating is whether I should open the door for the Skald. Seeing if I didn't have the dice, I definitely wouldn't, because I still want to play a bear, right? So, it's super unfortunate. I would probably still ping and play bear on my next attack and forego the frostbite. So yeah, I mean So I go ahead and ping to clear the way. That leaves the Skald up, and then I still have to attack, so I attack with the Skald for 2 directly into Astrea. I think he's got a Sympathy Pain as his last card, if I remember right. And so, Sympathy Pain is a good card. I think it's a good source of damage in Charm. I'm not sure I would want it in my starting 5. He was just debating whether he's going to do it to me or do it to the Skald. He decided to do it to me directly. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. Okay. All right. So really, I got 1 extra damage off of not paying for the bear, and I again, Schmendrick, I'm super sorry about that. I don't think it will matter in the end of this game, but I feel bad about that. I do apologize. All right. So he exhausted with Astrea on the bear. Knew that. I was sort of just trying to get board presence because I know he's got the Mirror Spirit, and I know that Astrea is going to do her thing. But I pinged for 1 here, which shouldn't have happened, but it did. we're going to move on from it now. Yep, so he makes the Mirror Spirit. Two. Don't have a good way to deal with it right now. Just going to pass main. He's going to attack for 2. One of the things I like particularly about this play is it's like my opponent is not all for nothing in a top of round kneel, even though I'm going to go first in top of round 2. So we now stand up. I'm going to redo everything. Again, it should be 17-12, but again, as you see when we get to the end of the game, it's probably not going to make a ton of difference. I think that's the only damage my opponent gets on me this whole game. I might take 1 more, maybe. Maybe I take 3 more. But anyways, spoiler alert. Okay, so like that's an insane draw, by the way. Like 3 Skalds, 2 damage, like right now is not the time to attack because my opponent can just ram their Mist Spirit in. And so even though I have the first play, and I risk a kneel, that's what I risk. My opponent's got to meditate into the kneel, and I still remove a Mist Spirit. Like I don't know how else I would want to do that, because if I just attacked his again, I'm worried about a Golden Veil, but because he doesn't have the right dice showing, like I knew that I could kill the spirit free and clear. And so now, I mean, again, if he kneels me, he kneels me. Here's what I've got still in hand. I've got a Master Vampire, a River Skald, that's worth 2, again, a Frostbite. So, like, I still have the potential to do 5, 6, 7 damage this turn, just off of, just off of the setup. So, again, I make the transitions to the ceremonials because I think that I'm going to probably need to ceremonial some things back. I mean, I've got Pain Shamans in the bin. I've got a few other things that, maybe I want to pull out at some point. So I have the Master Vampire to play. So he's now has to be concerned, like, what am I doing with double ceremonial? What am I casting? And he's got to be thinking about that. And there goes one of the kneels. But he's showing, I mean, he's got the kneel set up, right? Like he's got it set up. He meditated into it. So I was actually surprised. Okay, so he does one more, and I think, he takes the Sympathy. I think if you really want to bluff and you're playing Charm and not playing Golden Veil, you have to take the second Charm die to power, just to sort of set your opponent on a plan that says, okay, we're going to do this. But he drops a Sonic Swordsman. So again, he is showing, like, we'll see if he's going to protect the Hunter's Mark. He does not. There is a chance here that I could have just gone ahead and attacked with the bear, and would have potentially been better because I could still play the vampire instead of that. But I go ahead and spend the 2 to kill the swordsman. That's uses Herald's ability. But that's what this deck is about. It's about killing 4 health units, right? And it has so many ways to do it. I'm still threatening like 8 damage on board. And so if he doesn't kneel me now, like I just do 8 to him, like he doesn't have a choice. He has to kneel now, right? Like, but he plays a Battle Seer. That is good for sure. And it's gonna change a play pattern because I don't have the Sympathy die any longer to play Crescendo either. So I'm kind of in an awkward rut where that Battle Seer is kind of gonna do some damage, and I don't have a really good answer to it right now. So my best option is probably either play another bear, play the Frostbite, pass, and let him attack, and get some damage on it through just straight counters. I mean, I've got 4 units on the board, so I definitely don't want to play the vampire, and I can't play the vampire. So, like, end of the day, like, I'm thinking through how to deal with the Battle Seer, and if I just attack the Battle Seer, like, I think I don't want to do it because it can just counter with no exhaustion. So, like, I don't want to just attack Astrea directly, so I kind of want to attack the Battle Seer and try to just get damage on it. And in doing so, I open the door to kill it. So I power diet, do 1 to it, and then I go ahead and use a frostbite, and do a 2nd point of damage. Did I pay for the frostbite? Man, I made all kinds of mistakes in this game. I think I did. I think that was because I got 2 nature dice left. I haven't played anything else nature. I think I just did it really fast. Because the Skald was double sympathy, double sympathy. So the Skald doesn't hit back because of the quick strike. So again, Skald into there. I'm just sort of trying to eat the kneel effectiveness down, because he can still kneel me now. And so call to action is going to ready the Battle Seer. And this is where he does the last 3. I'm just going to take this 3, but it's better than taking the 6. I meditate, and we lose the massive growth. So no massive growth, but this is the sort of thing I was talking about. My opponent doesn't realize I have another Frostbite in hand, so he thinks I got to commit another attack to the Battle Seer, but I don't. I just have to play Frostbite and Nature Power, and then I have it. So I have that Seer down. And we're out of the Kneel realm for now. So I don't really have a lot of reason to put another unit on the board yet, but if I can attack, get some value, he's got to hold that up. Okay, so he's working through what to do here. He's going to play a Divine. I think he's going to summon a Lightbringer. He wants to force me to attack. And that is fine. That forced attack is important here. It gives us a few different outs. All right, sorry about that. Had an interruption from the family, but we're back. So again, I go ahead and play Search in the deck to see what to recur. I don't think there's anything in there that I'm going to pull back. I think that's what I'm trying to decide on those ceremonial dice. Like, because I have Skald in there, I like to get the Skald back. I'm just going to pass it over. All right, so opponent is now, I mean, we did what we needed to do, which was attack. Played the Guilt Link. So Guilt Link with Lightbringer is a problem because you can just, like, you just want to surrender the Lightbringer to kill units on my board. So I have to play the Frostbite here. And now the Frostbite, I have a little bit of trouble with TTS here. Sometimes TTS does some weird things. This is one of those instances of that. And then excuse me. And then we go ahead and ping off the Lightbringer with the Nature Power. The reason we do that is because if I turn on like we can go ahead and play bear now. And this is where I was talking about like those situations where you play bear into massive growth. And Astrea is still up with a single die to exhaust the bear, but I just want to get the units on board. I mean, I know my opponent might kneel and play a Mirror Spirit, but I have so many outs now to deal with Mirror Spirit that I think I can deal with a Mirror Spirit no matter what sort of value it gets. So he passes main. I go ahead and play a bear. And I pass. And again, waiting. Astrea is gonna get the bear. And this is where if I had the massive growth, which is sitting in my bin now, but if I had the massive growth, I could massive growth the bear and an attack for 6, or massive growth the skull and attack for 6, and that takes him to 8. Like, I don't think there's very many worlds where that wouldn't have been bad, but instead we did 2. So again, the massive growth is sort of just a tempo play. So we pass through the mains, and we're going to go to the top of round 3. So I'm going to keep the ceremonial power because I got the vampire in hand. I got the Crescendo. You'll see that Crescendo could have come into play in this game. Ends up not. Like, just spoiler. It was sort of a weird scenario where I could have used it as a removal tool, but it wouldn't have actually finished the job. And so dice doesn't roll particularly well. Again, I mean, you know, again, no nature power. We draw into the Molten Gold. There's the Freezing Blast. We're not planning to use Freezing Blast here. So to me, Freezing Blast is a discard to Crescendo in this hand, as well as so is the Anchornaut. But, you know, depending on what my opponent does here, but I think this is where he's going to definitely want to kneel me. I got 3 units on board. I got 6 damage on board. Like he's not going to be able to defend all that if I just wanted to pressure it. And so he's got to make the dice to do that, and then he's going to kneel. Again, I'm sitting very good on a kneel here because I can still play another bear. I can still play a Master Vampire. That's still 5 damage put out on the board. Don't care so much about that. It does hurt, but I have, you know, I'm showing 7 damage plus Molten Golden Hand is 10 damage. So I'm within 2 of finishing the game as we sit here right now. It seems very likely that we're going to be able to, you know, to do that. So again, the Guilt Link is an issue because if he plays a unit, then, and most likely that unit's going to be a Lightbringer, then he just gets a Bear, Skald, or Skald. So I have to hold the Anchornaut as an answer to Lightbringer because Lightbringer comes out, he could Guilt Link right away. So I think, what do I do? Yeah, I cast the Vampire. And I think the thought was, well, if he's going to Lightbringer anything, or Guilt Link me now, like I just lose the Bear, and I just resummon the Bear, and I have an unready, I have a, you know, I have a unexhausted Bear now. So I think it sort of says, okay, I got to do something, and he's got to make the Lightbringer, which is going to force me to attack the next turn. That's not going to be favorable for him if I can attack into a Lightbringer, but he exhausts the Vampire with Astrea. And so he's going to 2 shadows it, which is discard it. Couldn't remember if that was the one that removed it from the game. So I'm fine with that as a removal play. I think he, you know, did the right thing. You want to remove the Vampire because otherwise I just attack with the Vampire. Checking deck sizes because I'm starting to get worried that we're going to get to the way his deck is full of removal, my deck is full of removal. We go ahead and summon the Bear now. So we trade a Vampire for the Bear. Probably could have played the Bear and seen if he did that same play versus you know, Astrea exhausting the Bear, and then had the Vampire 2 play. But I double meditate. I looked at his deck size. I was 2 cards up on him. I knew I could double meditate into the Molten Gold. That took me to 9. I can pop him to 7, but with the Molten Gold. So At this point, I think I just attack with the bear if I remember right, but again, just playing from memory, so we'll see what happens here. I think he ends up guilt linking a bear away. I'm just trying to remember. I can't remember for sure. I know I don't have to worry about Golden Veil now. So, like, I can crescendo into a unit if he plays a bigger unit. I can't Freezing Blast, but crescendo is going to get me very, very close, and Frostbite could finish off the unit and still just get 1 damage on my opponent as well. So, I'm starting to work through endgame viability and know that I'm going to go to 9, a single guilt link, it takes me to 8. If all of these units were to survive, which they won't, but if they were, then I have lethal on board. Lethal on board plus Molten Gold. So he doesn't know I have the Molten Gold, obviously. Okay, so he's going to play the Mirror Spirit and get a 3-2. I think he thinks that that's going to trade well with a bear attack, right? So like he can play Mirror Spirit. If I don't attack with bear, then he's got the Mirror Spirit open, and so he thinks, okay, well then I can Lightbringer if he doesn't do it and force it in that way. What's not being accounted for in that process is marking here, and so because it's a 2 health unit, like I just mark. And I hit the wrong button and reset my deck, and so it threw the bears back in. And then we mark the spirit. It's because I have an Anchornaut in hand. Now I play around the Lightbringer. Like he had a window to take one of my big units, and that was by playing the Lightbringer, but because I Hunter's Mark and do 2 with the Anchornaut to the Mirror Spirit, we just kill the Mirror Spirit. So again, empty board state. My opponent plays Lightbringer and forces me. I can guilt link the Anchornaut now, so it's not a super great play for him. Allows me to do. I think I've got the ability to do 5, 6, 7 damage on board if he plays a bigger unit, which is something I'm still sort of thinking through. Is like he might have a bigger unit to play here because he's still got 4 dice, so he may have a Battle Seer, Sonic Swordsman, something of that nature. Like I can't necessarily. I still am on the plan where I can take care of that, right? Like if he decides to meditate and play that right now over the Lightbringer, then I can attack with the bear, crescendo. Do a point of damage to a Skald, and then kill out the swordsman or whatever it may be. I can't do that all in one turn like this because it's all main actions. So I would still have to face a single attack from that unit, but that's something that I'm willing to sort of stand on here and see what happens. So again, we got the discard of Freezing Blast for that. I know he's meditating into something. He goes ahead and plays. I think he plays Light Swordsman here, which I didn't see coming. Honestly, like the Light Swordsman was kind of a surprise play. Oh, he plays the Lightbringer. Yep. Okay, there's the Lightbringer. But since he used the side action to meditate, makes it awkward to play Crescendo because it's not what I wanted to hit with Crescendo. But I have to attack now, right? Like I have to attack because of the Lightbringer. So it sort of just makes my play a little awkward. So I'm counting how many Battle Seers he's got. I know he's got the dice to play a Battle Seer. Doesn't have the dice currently to play a Sonic Swordsman, but he's got 2 Battle Seers and 2 Swordsmen in the bin. So it's very possible that there's a Battle Seer and a Swordsman in his pile right now. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what's the most profitable attack. You know, because I definitely still want a Molten Gold. I don't want to use my nature die to get rid of the Lightbringer like I did earlier in the game. So I just attack with Bear. The Lightbringer can't block it because of the Terrifying, so he just takes 2. And I end the turn. Again, so now this is where, you know, he can do a couple of different things with that Lightbringer. So now he's going to show me Sonic Swordsman, right? Like that's... So I take 1. But I don't want to block it because I don't want to get, like, I don't want the Anchornaut to block it, die, and then I get guilt linked, right? So it's very obvious for me now just to play the Molten Gold. Seems like my opponent is going to play something big, and then okay, so Light Swordsman tells me he's no longer on the plan, so I take 2. I ended up not facing a big unit. Again, makes the Crescendo awkward. There's really no reason for me to Crescendo here, right? Like, I should hold the Crescendo for if he plays one of those other bigger units, knowing that he still has a Sonic Swordsman and a Light Swords and a Battle Seer left in deck. So I don't want to lose my last Crescendo because it's a great tool to fight those things. The Freezing Blast is kind of unnecessary at this point, so I ping the Swordsman away because, again, the Swordsman can block my bears. That's a problem. And it's his go. Now, I think he makes a pretty drastic play mistake here. I don't think you're supposed to guilt link here now. And the reason why I don't think that is because you still have a 1/1 blocker that can't block bears, but can block a Skald. And so you just avoid X amount of damage. And my Anchornaut is literally not showing any damage, right? So it's like you don't have to worry about Anchornaut attacking this turn. Because he passed main, like, we just get a flip and I have 8 damage on board and win. Like, I think he had to play main action of some sort there. I don't know what his last card was. I don't remember. But I think that was a mistake. If you're going to pass main, then you keep your guilt link up with the Lightbringer, because you can still block, and I only do 6, so I don't have the win on board. And he doesn't know I have a Crescendo, so I would... So he was saying his last card was a 2 shadow, so he'd be able to 2 shadows a bear. I think, you know, I think that would be fine. Obviously, I don't have the win immediately on board then, right? But I do have 2 frostbites on board, so I just have to main action attack, and then whatever he does doesn't matter, because then I can turn around and just like frostbite to the win. So I don't think the 2 shadows would save him. And again, like I said, I don't think that 1 health point changes the game outcome, although he probably gets a little bit more blood in. But you know, I think that who knows for sure. I apologize, Schmendrick. I had definitely no intention of cheating you on a dice there. That's my bad. But yeah, I think the Herald deck is still legit and still real, and I do wonder if it needs another copy of Massive Growth, because again, I just think like there are a lot of situations where you're just sitting on the ability, if it's not Astrea, to attack freely into your opponent's board state, or they're sitting on a unit that can't block a bear, and so then you turn around and you Massive Growth the bear and you attack, and it's just like a blowout. So because we're going to deal with the big 3/4 units, and so the issue with all of that, as I say all this, is that you have 0 way to protect a bear in this deck. So if you Massive Growth a bear and your opponent can still take actions, still has dice, and still has ways to interact with you, you may just lose your bear and 2 dice. And that's like getting 2 for 1, and that's really bad. So it's it might be situational enough that a 1 on Massive Growth is fine, and that's that. So, but yeah, that is my week 5 matchup. This is Herald version 5. Look for the new video on YouTube. If you enjoyed our content, it'd be awesome if you just shoot us a like. If you're not subbed, we love subs. So obviously, like, that tells us that we're making stuff that you want to watch. Don't forget, if you do sub, hit the bell icon. That way you know when we upload content to YouTube. We put out a ton of content for this game. And we will see you all in 2021 with new deck ideas, some new tournament information coming out, etc. So happy New Year, everybody. Take care.